We're talking about keeping us all safe. That's the number one responsibility, I think, of our government is keep us safe. And that's something that's not happening by this open border. And so Mike Kowal, come on up here. Oh, gee, I didn't see. I want Mike Kowal to introduce our next speaker because they're good friends and they've worked together. So come on. What are you doing so close to me? No wonder why I couldn't find you. Mike Kowal.
I like to keep a low profile. I've known Mike Rogers for a long time. We served, he was in the Senate when I was first in the House, and we got to know each other there. And Mike's career, he started off in the Army, served his time in the Army, then he went on to the FBI, taking down organized crime in places like Chicago. There's no organized crime in Chicago, is there? But then Mike was, when he was in the state Senate, state senator, he's helped set up the Michigan 529 program, which allows us parents to put money aside for our kids for college, which has been a life-saving for a lot of people that have needed that, in the past years. Mike then ran for Congress and defeated his Democratic opponent. Mike has made a great mark in Congress, and he's highly thought of there. Through his service as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, he was among the first to sound the alarm about the economic and the national security regarding China. Mike also fought against the Chinese in efforts to steal the American intellectual knowledge that we use in our auto industry. Mike's been a fighter for Michigan ever since he started in public office. And with that, I want to introduce my friend and colleague, Mike Rogers.
All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for the invitation. I will get to that in 1 minute. I just want to say this. On Friday, I had the good fortune to have a conversation with the former president. He is fired up about Michigan, but he knows one thing. We will have to unite to win in November. Matter of fact, he's coming to Grand Rapids on Tuesday. We're going to try to highlight that issue based on the killing of that young woman in Grand Rapids by an illegal immigrant who has been, by the way, was tossed out and illegally came back into the country for a second time. And you think about what that means for us and our safety and our future as a country. We have some problems we're going to have to get through. And I don't think any better dual screen issue than what you saw with the President of Donald Trump today with President Joe Biden going to a very fancy Hollywood star-studded event. They're very proud of themselves. They're going to raise $25 million in one event in New York City. Very glitzy. Donald Trump was with the family of the fallen police officer who was killed during a roadside. Yeah, exactly. That is the starkest difference in these two parties and what's at stake in November. And it's going to get real, and it's going to get ugly. When you think of the number of illegals in the United States today that we just simply do not know who they are or where they are. The criminal gangs, the criminal cartels who are operating in the United States are breathtaking bad. I know Sheriff Bouchard is going to come up and talk a little bit about the crime challenges here. But when you think about what's coming next, it's worrisome. So I worked organized crime in the city of Chicago. And you remember that FBI when we went after criminals? Remember that FBI? Yeah. Oh, come on, work with me, people, for God's sake.
It's been a long time since we had that FBI.
Exactly, unfortunately. And we're going to get it back, too, by the way. And the President and I have talked about how we do that. We're going to get it back, and we're going to get it back soon. We're going to get them worried about dismantling that fentanyl network that's coming from China to Mexico to our kids and poisoning us right here. Somebody told me that is not by design. Think of that. We lost 3,000 people to fentanyl poisoning in Michigan last year. 3,000. And now you see the illegal surge at the border. We had a 14-year-old assaulted in Livingston County by an illegal immigrant. We had a murder in Kent County earlier. Right. Yeah, well, that worries us a little bit for sure. And we have a criminal cartel operating right here in Oakland County, right? And they're Chileans. And here's what we know. The Chileans are working their way in. And I'll let the sheriff, I don't want to steal the sheriff's thunder here. And before I do that, by the way, Mike Bishop Jr. Is just got out of the 82nd Airborne, and he's here with us. Give him a round of applause. Thank you for your service, Mike. I don't know where you got to. My brother served in both the 82nd and the 101st. So did Mike. I served in the 7th Infantry Division. Thank you very, very much for your service to your country. We appreciate it very much. This is what it's going to take. It's going to take young men like that, people who are showing up for our United States military, a military that they deserve to serve in, by the way. And we're going to have some hard conversations about that as well. So you think about these cartels coming up. The one cartel we worry about most is the one from Venezuela. Why? It was formed in prison. Right? In the FBI, we would call that a clue. They're likely criminals before they ever get to the shores of the United States of America. And why did a group beat nearly to death a police officer in New York? Right? Because they were criminals before they got here. Why do people attack police officers at the border, our Customs Patrol agents? Because they were criminals before they got here. That's not their first offense. And here's the problem. We just let them go. We give them a ticket. Come back and see us in 8 years when we'll get around to talking to you. And what we're seeing is crime coming into our neighborhoods. More and more and more. And here's the thing. We're going to shut the border down when we get there. I have a feeling the Democrats are going to keep dragging their feet until November. Maybe even January. So we're going to get it closed. We're going to get it closed right away. Very high priority issue for both President Trump, and we're going to take, with your help, the majority in the United States Senate by winning this seat for a Republican so we can put a little sanity back in Washington, D.C. But think about the challenge that comes next. We have about 9 million people running around the country. We just don't know who they are. We don't know what their intentions are. Right? And we already know that the Venezuelan gang is now starting to organize these other gangs. Right? And so who's the big winner on this? The crime cartels that are doing the human trafficking, that are pushing fentanyl north of the border, that are selling guns to criminals and street gangs all across America. They love the chaos. Somebody said it was as high as $18 billion last year for the cartels, the criminal gang cartels. You think they want to get it fixed? And by the way, when somebody comes up and says, oh, but the bipartisan bill, you should have been with it. No. Exactly. It permanently sealed in criminal activity on our border. And by the way, they can't figure out who's coming across now. You think they're going to count 9,999 people coming across that border? Hell no, they can't do that. It's unbelievable that they continue to do this. The Senate just voted, by the way, to let people who, by the way, you couldn't go to the airport today without an ID and getting strip searched. They're flying people around the country with no ID whatsoever. And by the way, we don't even know if it's their real name. There's no way to verify if it's their real name. We should not let voters forgive the Democrats and Joe Biden for what they're doing to our communities, our kids, all across the United States of America.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more consequential election, certainly in my lifetime. One of the reasons you even do something like this is you think, can I be a part of getting this thing somewhat back on track? And I argue if we come together and we do this together and we start moving people over to our side based on the issues and how we're going to address the problems that we're having here in the United States of America, we're going to win this election. There's a reason that Donald Trump is up anywhere from 3 to 5 points in the state this early. Remember, he was down 8 going into 2016. 8. He's up by 2 to 3. This is a good sign. Now, does it mean it's easy? Does it mean it's done? Does it mean we don't have to do anything? Absolutely not. I was so excited. Exactly. Got to work harder. Thank you for that, by the way. I see your 101st Airborne hat. Thanks, Bob. when you think about the challenges that are coming, they're not going to go away. The Democrats raised $25 million today alone in one event with a whole bunch of stars that I hope you don't watch anymore on TV. Right? Think of that. We're having a hard time raising money. People just aren't sure. Now, there was a change at the RNC. That's important. Because my campaign with the endorsement of Donald Trump means that we get to work with them to start building the foundation we have to win in November. If we wait until August to build this, we will lose. They're starting right now, and they're pouring money into this state. Pouring money into this state. So we have to be better. We have to be better organized. I saw all of the delegates in here. Thank you, or the precinct folks. Thank you for that. That does make a difference. Those networks make a difference. This is going to be two people telling two people telling two people. That's how we're going to win this. We will not have as much money as they do. We ought to get that in our heads. But we can outsmart them. And you know what the most important thing? This is the best thing my parents ever gave me. They never gave me money. They gave me the understanding of a work ethic. We will not be outworked in this election if you care about your country and you care about the future and you care about your kids and your grandkids. Yeah, thanks. I know we've been going long. I will say it started out in Grand Rapids this morning with a group of veterans. They're all Vietnam-era veterans, by the way. Really a great group of people. Then went to a chicken farm, which sounds kind of funny. However, they were talking about the sheer problem that the Biden administration is causing them to get their prices anywhere where you can afford to get an omelet at a restaurant. And they said if they're successful, and if Donald Trump does not get elected, they're not sure how they're going to be able to produce enough eggs to even meet their customer orders. And what do you think that means to our costs? They're very worried about this, and nobody's paying attention to it. This regulatory burden that's coming in at farmers, at small businesses, at big businesses, at manufacturing, they're artificially raising our costs of energy because they want you to be punished. They want you to pay more at the pump. They want you to pay more for your electric bill. I mean, they can't wait. They're going to show up at your house. They're going to take your gas stove. They're going to put it in the back of your F-150, and they're going to drive it off. Oh, come on. That was funny right there.
I got a Chevy.
They'll take that, too. You think about where we are. And by the way, the Biden administration, thanks for the last 4 years, has made the most expensive vehicle to operate in 2024 your shopping cart.
Yeah.
$1,000 a month per family here in Michigan.
Right.
We didn't get a $1,000 a month raise. And here's the good news about all of this. This party is flipping, meaning that the Democrats are moving to the elitist party, right? And the Republicans are the working party of America. We're people who care about our kids, we care about our future, we'll get up in the morning, we go to work, right? That's why we're going to win. There's a lot more of us than there are of them, but we just got to convince them otherwise. We have all the issue sets. I've never seen it in an election where they line up with us if we do this right. The border. People understand that this is a problem, and it's getting worse.
How about our debt? Our debt.
The debt is absolutely a huge problem.
How about that?
Well, first of all, and I've talked about...
What you want to do, what would you do?
Well, we have questions afterwards, so let me finish, and then you can ask that question, and I'm happy to answer it.
Hey, what we're going to do afterwards, after all our these three speakers, we're going to group them together for a group Q&A afterwards, if that's okay.
Sure, you bet.
Oh, we'll love it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So let me do this one last piece, because I want to hear from Sheriff Bouchard on this. We understand a couple of things with the illegal immigration. Stop it, got to do that. I would surge the border, by the way, with people who can adjudicate these cases. There's no reason it should take 8 years. It should take 3 days, and then we should spin them around and send them home. By the way, 90% of them will not qualify under our current law to be here. And we're giving them a pass for 7, 8, 9 years. Right? Big problem. Surge on the border. These are things that President Trump could do, remain in Mexico right away. That's a big one. And the other one is if you don't go to your home country, to your consulate, and you have to go through this process. If you don't get that process started, you can't even come to the border. Why are we letting them do it? My argument is turn them around and say, you got to go do this right. You got to go home. You got to do it right. Spin them around on the border first day. Then the massive effort to make sure we find, identify, and get rid of people, these Venezuelan gang. Yeah, you bet. Gotta happen. Has to happen. And I'll tell you this last one on just giving a rat's behind. Thank you, all of you, for coming out and not giving up on politics. Sometimes it can get small and petty. We need to get big and real. The reason the president needs us all is because this state will determine if he is the next president of the United States. We must win Michigan. All the things are going in our favor. The UAW coalition for the Democrats, cracking. Muslim coalition for the Democrats is cracking. Black males in Southeast Michigan are starting to drift over to the Republican Party. And why? The Democrats have taken them for granted for 70 years. This is our time. But we've got to do this together in order to win. And I'll tell you this last quick story. As a young FBI agent, 26 years old, there was a human trafficking case. We get this young girl out. She was a runaway. The moms had spotters at the bus stop. She came from Iowa. They got her in about a month, stone cold heroin junkie. I mean, they had track marks in her fingers and the back of her legs. It was awful. Put her to work in a brothel. We got her out about 2 years later. She got in the car, didn't say a word. I'll never forget this. A young 26-year-old going to save America by arresting every bad guy I could find. She doesn't say a word. And then about 10 minutes into it, with that 1,000-yard stare, she says, "Do you know why I didn't kill myself?" Why? Because I knew somebody cared enough to come find me. Think about the challenges in this election. We have to care enough to know that there are women being used in human trafficking operations today on the border, and fentanyl killing our kids. We have to care enough. The fact that you can't afford groceries, we have to care enough for that family to do a little extra in this election, a little bit more. We have to do everything that we can to get people to the polls who are going to vote for us. We can't do it by just events alone. This is hard work. It's door to door. It's literature. It's having conversations. If you care about America, this is the election to get involved. Bring your friends, bring your family. Let's do this. We can make it happen. Help is on the way.
Thank you, Mike Rogers. Thank you so much.